Hello, lovely friends. It's Let's Talk Sex Tuesday. I feel like last Tuesday was a lifetime ago. So, vowing to get on here a little bit more in the next couple weeks. Oh, I got a poppy seed or a blueberry or something in my tooth. Always fun. Today is Let's Talk Sex Tuesday, and I want to tackle this idea of the supermom. So shout out to Miss Sarah Bivens, and I believe it's called the Balance and Motherhood podcast. I can't pull it up right now because I'm on my phone. I was catching a listen. She was interviewing this powerhouse mama who's in real estate and coaching and got 2 young kids. And they talked about this idea of the supermom. And it was really like a fucking punch in the gut, I gotta say. Because they just talked about this idea of like, I got my hands full of groceries and I've got happy kids following me and everyone is fed and the house is perfectly clean and the dog has been walked and I can do it. I've got everything under control. I am in charge. I am doing it all. And if I'm honest with myself, I derive a lot of pleasure and a really big sense of satisfaction from being that person. I don't know if it's how I grew up. I don't know if it's the stereotypes that I kind of watched, but just this like, I can do it all. I don't need anybody's help. Everything's done perfectly when I do it mentality. And that this is the standard, that I should expect nothing less of myself, that I am capable of all of these things all of the time. Now, I hope that you're seeing some of the delusion that's in this as I'm saying it. I mean, like, when I think about this, I'm like, yeah, I do feel a sense of power when I do those things. And there isn't anything wrong with, like, wanting or enjoying like a clean kitchen. Like I feel good after I clean my kitchen. It gives me a sense of like completion and closure. It gives me a sense of feeling like on it and organized. And there's nothing like inherently wrong with that. But if we think of this idea of the supermom as like this beautiful stone and we kind of like lift and look underneath it, what we see is there's a lot in there about worth and worthiness and being enough and what your value and your usefulness is tied to. And when I started to think about it, I was like, whoa, okay, so is being powerful doing it all with no one's help? Is being powerful always being right about how things should be done? Is being powerful keeping everyone else happy at all times, fed, satiated? Is being powerful like knowing where everyone's stuff is at all times? And I think we like derive a sense of power from that because the real power isn't there. Like society wants to, the patriarchy, whatever, wants us to feel a sense of power in being busy, in working to the bone, in pleasing everyone else first, all of this. And really what that does is it keeps us dieting. It keeps us buying things to fill the hole. It keeps us always looking for more, always thinking we could do better, and always feeling like we're failing. I mean, the mom forums that I'm on, women are just like, you know, I had to leave a crazy work meeting because my kid bonked their head at daycare and I'm failing as a mom and I'm failing as a working person and I am just failing. And you go, no, you are not failing. And if you are failing, it's because society has set you up to do that and feel that. Especially my U.S. mamas or my mamas in places where there's no maternity leave in early years. But even still, I'm past maternity leave. And holy hell, people, I'm homesick all the time with the baby. So is that really where power comes from? Like when I started thinking about this and I realized that, I was like, fuck that, man. My power does not come from keeping people happy all the time. My power doesn't come from doing it all and having a perfectly immaculate kitchen, which I never do, but sometimes I do for like a minute. It's always nice. my power actually comes from knowing who I am and what I need and giving myself permission to have and do those things. It comes from knowing when I need help. It comes from taking care of what I need to take care of so that I can take care of myself. Making sure that someone else has got the kids, someone else has got the dog, someone else has got the meals, so I can go to yoga tonight. Because that's what I need. It's about knowing. True power comes from knowing that I am enough, just as I am, however well I am doing in any given moment, even if that moment is me binge watching Netflix on the couch because I need rest right now. Even if that moment is me having a huge cry in the bathroom because I just need an emotional release right now. That is actual power. So I'm curious, if you're catching the replay, post in the comments, what comes to mind when you think of a supermom? Who is a supermom? Are you a supermom? The Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines a supermom as basically a working mom. So a mom who keeps an immaculate home and works, basically does 2.5 jobs or whatever it's called. What comes to mind when you think of a supermom? I was Googling some stuff and I was like, oh, Supermom is totally Mrs. Incredible, especially from the second movie, right? And wanting to go out and kick ass and be perfect at everything and also know where her kids' shoes are and also know how the homework's done and also. And not only does this totally devalue our strengths, but I gotta say, this does no favors to our partners. Especially the negative stereotypes around our men being useless when it comes to domestic things. They are not useless when it comes to domestic things, especially if we actually step back and ask for help and allow them to take some of it on. This does nobody any favors. So, and there's also this element of the martyr, this woman Nancy was saying in the podcast, right? This no one sees how hard I work. No one sees what I'm doing. I am doing this all alone, right? So how do we turn this on its head? How do we reclaim this? I mean, I kind of want to offer a different definition, right, of a supermom. And in the podcast, they actually talked about the notion of being an orgasmic mama. An orgasmic mama, an empowered mama. A supermom to me is not this lone woman saving the world who's omnipotent and all-powerful in regards to her family, right? A supermom is a flawed and real human who does her best every day, who wakes up at 4 a.m. to feed her kid bananas, because that's fucking super, and then gets up and goes to work the next day, but who takes time the next night to rest because her partner got to rest the night before, and maybe they swap duties, right? A supermom to me is a person who knows her needs, negotiates for her needs, and puts herself first, because when she puts herself first, she's actually capable of serving her kids and serving her husband and serving her partner and serving the world around her. A superwoman, a supermom, an orgasmic mama is somebody who doesn't do everything for everybody else, but actually takes great pleasure in supporting others to do on their own. I remember I had this partner once, and I always I took great pleasure actually in knowing where his wallet was, or he always lost his things. And I remember, I took pleasure in it because it's ooh, I'm powerful. I know where all the stuff is. I am on it. I have this encyclopedic memory. And then you're really? Do I want to value that? And then also, he would just come to rely on me knowing where his stuff is because I always knew. I would pay attention to where he ditched his glasses. And then he would just ask me instead of doing it himself. And I remember kind of hitting this line in the sand where I was oh, this is bullshit. And I stopped doing it. I was I know where his sunglasses are because I automatically pay attention because that's how my brain works. But I don't have to tell him where they are. I can tell him to go look, and he can stop relying on me. Same with my kids. I remember where all their shit is. I often put it away. I am not responsible for finding their shit. They are responsible for finding their shit. I mean, toddlers, little ones, a little bit different, but as they're getting older, it is my job to empower them and teach them to take care of their own things. To, as my favorite mama coach Ann Kaplan says, hand their problems back to them with love and care, right? You solve this problem. How should we solve this problem? Oh, you seem to lose your boots a lot when you like come home and just throw them around. And then you have to spend 30 minutes in the morning looking for them. Maybe we should try something else. What is your idea, do you think? That is a super powerful mama. So, where am I going with this? Well, I guess I just want you to think about that. Are you a supermom? Do you want to be a supermom? What do you have invested in this idea of the supermom? And what sense of power and control are you deriving from that stereotype? And is it actual power and control? Where are you denying your sense of worth? And where are you getting stuck in this not enoughness? It's a sneaky one. And it's one I struggle with, but I can never pinpoint on the surface. When it's brought up, I'm like, oh yeah, there's that again. But on the surface, I'm like, no, I feel competent and enough and everything, but I'm doing to make everybody happy. What is this BS, right? So something to think about. Something to think about in terms of the stereotypes we put on men and women and couples. Taking that power back means claiming what we want. One last little nugget I guess I want to share is really interesting. There was a study I heard about somewhere, it was reliable though, that talked about how couples who think they are progressive tend to actually have a worse balance of workload in their home than more quote unquote traditional couples. And I think the reason for this is in a conservative or traditional couple where I do the pink jobs and you do the blue jobs, things are actually fairly even. I cook, I clean, I care for the children, you make the money, but you also repair all the vehicles and take care of all the mechanical things in the home. And everyone's clear on their jobs and their jobs. No one's overdoing each other's jobs. And people are okay with this negotiated arrangement. There isn't resentment. There isn't this idea of things being stereotypical. It's just this is what I do. This is what you do. In couples that see themselves as more liberal and more progressive, what happens is the actual conversation doesn't happen. So people think that they're progressive and that things are being split, but they actually haven't had the conversation of assigning roles and jobs. So everyone is doing everything, or nobody's doing anything, or one person is doing way more than the other person, because there hasn't been an overt agreement. If we are mixing up the traditional roles, then who is doing what actually then? And to me, this speaks a lot to this supermom thing, especially this feminism thing, where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to keep all the pink jobs and keep all those jobs, but I can also fix the HRV and change the oil in my gas and whatever. And I'm not saying you can't do all those things. You can do all those things, but you don't have to do all those things. And there is truth and power in playing to your strengths, whatever those strengths are. If you are better at managing the HRV and the house stuff, then you do it, girl. And if you're better with the emotional regulation and supporting and nurturing stuff, then you do it, girl. Whatever works. This is about owning your strengths and your power. So that is my rant today. I hope you got something out of this. Think about the supermom stereotype. Where are you deriving false power from it? And how do you want to actually redefine it or define for yourself what a powerful, orgasmic, yummy, pleasure-filled mama is? Whatever you think that is. I would love to hear. Send me your comments. Send me a DM. Let me know. I always love having conversations about this stuff. And if you're wanting to explore your relationship with your vagina, because this is a big part of being an orgasmic mama, a big part of being in tune with yourself and who you are, check out the Happy V, Happy Me storybook mapping exercise. You can head to the website thehappyvaginaproject.com/Happy V, Happy Me story, or you can head to the link in bio in Instagram. Catch you next week, my lovelies. Bye.